All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going to look at this really cool ancient idea about motivation, straight from Sun Tzu's Art of War. And what's wild is how we can see it pop up in two totally different moments in history. Okay, so this quote right here, this is the heart of everything we're talking about today. Sun Tzu is basically saying, look, a winning army needs two things to run. It's not just about spirit, it's also about substance. You've got to get the soldiers fired up, engage their hearts, but you also have to give them a real tangible reason to go out there and win. Right. So Sun Tzu's whole point is that being a great general isn't just about yelling, "Charge!" at the right time. Not even close. The real art, he says, is mixing these two types of motivation and doing it before the first arrow is even fired. He knew that the make-or-break moment in a battle, that second where a soldier decides to push forward or fall back, that decision is made long before, thanks to all this behind-the-scenes work.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty. Sun Tzu gives us these two key ideas. First, you've got rage or nu. Now this is that spiritual fuel, right? It's the fire in their gut that gives them the will to fight in the first place. But then there's reward or hor, and that's the concrete prize, the thing that actually makes them get up and go. The famous general Cao Cao summed it up perfectly. Without a reward, soldiers just won't move. So let's see how this plays out in the real world, starting with an example that's, well, it's fascinating but also kind of flawed.
Okay, so let's travel way back to the Eastern Han Dynasty. There's this general, Du Shang, and he's got a huge problem, a crisis of morale. His soldiers have basically lost their will to fight, and what he does next is, well, it's pretty unconventional, to put it mildly.
So here's his wild plan, step by step. Du Shang looks around and sees his army is just done. They're complacent, their fighting spirit is completely gone. So what does he do? He creates a crisis out of thin air. He secretly torches their camp, burns all their loot, and then points the finger at the enemy. Just like that, he's manufactured this intense rage. And then bam, he immediately dangles a new, even bigger reward in front of them. And the result? It worked! They went on to get a quick, decisive win.
But here's the thing, right? Yeah, it worked, but it was all built on a lie. I mean, think about it. If his soldiers had ever found out he tricked them, their morale would have been completely shattered, way worse than before. And that's the real lesson here. This kind of motivation, the kind that's based on tricks and manipulation, it's super fragile. It makes you wonder, there has to be a better way to do this, a deeper way to inspire people.
Okay, now let's jump way forward in time. We're talking 20th century Chinese Civil War. And here we see a much more sophisticated approach to this whole rage and reward thing. The People's Liberation Army, the PLA, they had a really tough problem on their hands. How do you motivate an army made up of all sorts of different people, including a bunch of enemy soldiers you just captured? How do you get them to fight for you and turn them into one single powerful force?
And this right here really shows you the difference. The PLA wasn't interested in just tricking their soldiers into battle. No way. Their goal was way bigger. They wanted to completely change why a person would fight. They took motivation from being this external, temporary thing and made it something deeply internal, personal, and built to last.
So how did they create rage? This is where it gets really interesting. They used something called the Speak Bitterness campaign. And it wasn't just a big group complaint session. No. It was this incredibly powerful educational process. Soldiers were encouraged to get up and share their personal stories of hardship, what they suffered under the old system. And then, as a group, they dig into the why. Why did this happen? As Zhou Enlai pointed out, this was a genius way to build class consciousness. Suddenly, it wasn't just one person's pain. It was a shared struggle. It gave every single soldier a profound, personal reason to fight for a new future.
All right, so that's the rage piece. Now, what about the reward? Well, if their approach to rage was all about looking inward, their take on rewards was just as clever. They focused on something they believed was way more valuable than just cash.
You see, the PLA got it. A cash bonus, that gets spent and forgotten. But honor lasts a lifetime. So their whole reward system, which they called the merit movement, was designed to create this culture of heroism from the bottom up. The ultimate prize wasn't money. It was recognition.
And this data, this is just incredible. It shows you everything you need to know about the difference in their philosophies. Just look at this. In the opposing KMT army, more than 83% of the top honors went to generals and the top brass. But in the PLA, a staggering 97% of hero titles went to the frontline guys, the soldiers at the company level and below. What a powerful message that sends, right? It says that no matter who you are, your contribution matters and you can be a hero.
And this wasn't some quiet pat on the back. Oh no, this was a huge public deal. I mean, just imagine it. You're a hero. You're at a big ceremony, wearing a red sash. But it doesn't stop there. A team literally goes back to your hometown with drums and gongs to deliver the good news to your family. And your parents? They get a plaque to hang on their door that says, "Glorious Family." This created this amazing ripple effect. The honor wasn't just yours. It belonged to your whole family, your whole community. It created this incredible sense of pride and made everyone else want to earn that same respect.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? By brilliantly mixing the spiritual rage that came from deep inside each soldier with an honorary reward that was shared by the whole community, the PLA created this massive advantage in morale. It's how they managed to beat a much bigger, much better equipped army. Their soldiers were just motivated on a completely different and much deeper level.
You know, they say history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. The exact methods we've talked about, they might not work in today's world, but that core principle, that idea of combining a real sense of purpose with genuine, meaningful recognition, that is absolutely timeless. It applies to any team in any competitive field, period.
And that really leaves us with a final question to chew on. In our own lives, in our jobs, our teams, our communities, what does this look like today? What's our modern version of the Speak Bitterness campaign that gets everyone fired up and aligned on a real mission? You know, when we talk about rage in business, are we talking about a real unified drive against a competitor? Or is it just another boring quarterly target? And what about the reward? Is it just a cash bonus that disappears the next day? Or is it public recognition that builds a person's legacy? What's our version of that glorious family plaque? The tools are different now for sure, but that basic human need for purpose and recognition, man, that's as powerful today as it ever was.